Why was I not told about this? I am Couch Cooper, and we're going to be looking at the Resident Evil 2 remake from 2019. This sits on the SSD. This is all PlayStation 5 footage. I'm thoroughly in love with this remake, but there is some caveats for me. But recently discovered some bonus content that came in on DLC because I hadn't put the disc in the machine for years. Never fully featured on the channel, and it's quite a lavish remake. I thoroughly recommend hopping out and grabbing a copy if you're remotely a fan of the Resident Evil games. As always with Capcom, absolutely impeccable model, and looking at the various creatures and stuff in the menu, that's used as an incentive on the unlock front, which does come with this bonus features section also. I was 18 when Resident Evil 2 came out, and I remember playing through it with a mate. We sort of took turns, and the memory of it is, in hindsight, against the other Resident Evils we've seen after, and even Resident Evil 1, is that this is quite backtracky and quite puzzle rich, which I'm not a big fan of in this series. I just want the gunplay and the zombies, and as soon as I start seeing those medallions switching out little symbols on a damn wheel, the passion wanes. So this one for me, and that's only my opinion, is kind of the most puzzle and non-combat focused of those previous Resident Evils. I know late game it gets exciting, but I'm just not chomping at the bit to go right the way through that campaign again. It is, however, looking seriously good, and it's also got two modes on it. This is the RE engine that the new Resident Evil 4 remake runs on, and graphically and sort of physical particles, ballistics, there's not much difference, and this is a couple of years earlier. Look at Leon's hair, you can see that it's almost an identical model. This Resident Evil also allows or promotes repeat playthroughs, getting you to play as Claire. Resident Evil 4, the remake, the new one, has also just rolled out some Ada Wong DLC, and it just looks damned amazing. Hopefully I'll get to that before the end of the year, and it's kind of been like a remake festival this year, and this one forgotten about a little bit because I don't think we had that remake buzz in 2019 that we have now. Stuff like Dead Space Remake and that RE4 is so damn strong that people are very up for remakes nowadays. Remake. But despite all that slagging off, that campaign, it looks absolutely impeccable. Some of the effects at play and the atmospheric. Can we start talking about what the video's about? Yes, and there's 3 sections to this bonus feature. You'll see it on the main menu, and I was really gobsmacked at a different character on each of the 3, B, a different level, completely different, and a different setup with your gear and what you're given. They are kind of like fragmented campaign sections that aren't anywhere near what's in that original campaign, and you get a star system on difficulty, i.e. they're not all the same, and one of them's slightly easier. This is, I think, the second hardest, and that one with the chick is, I think, the easiest, and then you've got a bit of a surprise at the end. Vigilant among you would have seen me lower my gun and cough just then, thus not being able to fire a bullet. It's kind of like a disease like you'd see on an ARPG, and you get it from some of the infected zombies. This is only applicable to this particular level of the 3. Does a strange strobe on the cutscene death sections. I'm not sure what that's all about, and I cannot remember that being in the original content. And also on this RT mode, for some reason, sections of these maps, they don't perform very well on frame rates, and it normally happens on distance and distance objects. This RE engine has been guilty of this before, sort of lowering the frame rates on assets or objects, moving ones that are very far away. It's quite noticeable when you've got it on a larger TV. If you play a lot of Monster Hunter Rise, you'll know what I'm talking about. Those flyers, when you see them very far away, the wings, they almost go to like a 2-frame animation. But it doesn't detract, as I always say. It's not a game breaker, and it's just noticeable in sections, and I'm a real pernickety, finicky little sod with this stuff. So put that one under your hat for the time being. Is a very, very pretty current gen version of Resident Evil 2, and the ray tracing effects and the shadow work is really quite incredible. You see some very advanced stuff happening if you're in larger rooms, or if you're sort of reloading a gun and that's captured from a rear light source, you'll see all the movement within the shadow. Now there's this damn licker on this level that is like a dice roll. You can never really predict to a certain extent what it's going to do, but how much you're going to bugger up. So you have to fill it with just the right amount of bullets. You've only got like this corner, and the further you go, the more zombie areas you'll instigate, and they'll start wandering towards you. So you have to do everything in sort of incremental chunks and learn them. So there will be quite a lot of playthroughs. Not having a block like you do on 7 and 8, where you put your hands up and your wrists turn into titanium barriers, you have to use your weaponries to keep the zombies at bay. It's really cool. It induces that traditional panic that we saw in early Resident Evil games. Also, some of them are special. They've got backpacks on them. It's got loads of gunpowder and stuff you can start making bullets with. That's the thing. You start doing maths and realizing that you've got to avoid loads of them, only shoot the ones that are directly in your path, and that's when you get to the new bits. You start realizing what you have to do, what you need to be shooting and not. You'll be walking around with one shotgun cartridge towards the end of some of the runs, and I've only completed a handful but one. This zombie's curly hair with like the brains underneath, that's super weird. It's almost got a They Live look to it in sections. I do quite like the design. Let's get to the characters. So you can imagine my surprise when I saw that raccoon on the head. That's unlockable. I wonder if that's a Everything Everywhere All at Once reference. It can't be. The dates don't match up. And talking of dates, Capcom don't muck about with their female character models, do they? And they don't hold back on some of the sort of sexualization and camp humor as well. Chris is always ending up in some leather-clad bikini, and the women have just got some really outlandish outfits. I love it, and it's going to be something I'm really frightened will be knocked on the head. You only really see sort of out-of-the-box content on this front from Asian studios at the moment, because the West is going through what can only be described as a horrendous culture war. Just back to this quickly, and as mentioned, the levels have their sort of unique looks and loadouts, and she, if you saw then, has got that massive pistol shot, which is devastating, and it just splits the head open in two. That poor guy, did you see what happened on the cranium level? They're not human, Coop. You can let go of some of that remorse. Look at the smoke and lighting effects coming in here. It's a very complicated scene for a third-person zombie shooter. That's why I was so not back with this content. That's why I put the video together, is because you might be a little bit like me and not be too up for that RE2 campaign, and this is just excellent. Not really worth the price of the disc on its own, but certainly worth exploring if you've butchered that campaign already. This is a great scene. You get the chance to choose one item from the bubblegum machines, and I went with the grenade. The zombie comes up to me. It goes into a melee attack cutscene, and I'm offered a hotkey move to put the grenade in its gob, and it blows up, and we both stood there awkwardly for a moment, waiting for the inevitable. There are also little tasks and keys and doors and like changes in environments and quite spooky monsters and interchangeable events that happen. I don't mean on a roguelike level, it's just that there is no similarities between these three sections of content. Once those dogs get going, man, auto aim needed on the dogs. But here's the cherry. One of them sections has got the Hunk in it. Don't toy with me. Is it him? It is him. He's got like a damaged eye, I think. There's a whole story thing in front of this which I didn't bother watching. I just wanted to get to shooting stuff as him, and I love how he pops up in all the games. He's got like Hellgast armor. He doesn't say a damn thing hardly. He's easily one of the more badass characters in the whole series. Can I get something in the comments about that, please? Bruh. We're given like the MP5 from the get-go on his section, and things just happen really quickly. There's quite a lot more zombies. I think it's the hardest, and it's certainly something I'm going to stick with because there's lickers everywhere and the zombies come falling out the ceiling. There's a fire going on. Incredible stuff, and for free bonus content. It's one thing I didn't mention. This is not paid DLC. This just dropped in as a big old update, and I've been enjoying it for days. It's kind of perfect for Halloween as well, and it's fresh Resident Evil content as far as I'm concerned. I'm also quite a big fan of that electricity gun. It's got a build on it. You can't spam the fire, which I found out the hard way. And also the stumbling, brilliant physics on the zombies. If they are perfectly choreographed as sort of staggering, wandering things, but they've got a very wide circle of grab. You can't really navigate too close to them, but that adds to a lot of the tension with the game. I was also suffering from the black lung there and dressed as Tony the Tiger. It's not Tony, it's Hotline Miami. Was of course Couch Coop, and I'm going to keep the Halloween content coming out as much as I can for this month. I've got Forza downloading, and that's huge for me. You know, I've got an unhealthy obsession with racing games and their replays, so hopefully I'll see you on the other side of that. Or better still, see you down there.